How about that intro, yo? Yo, what's up? What's up, family? Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. It is the TSA Hoop Show with your boy JR. Good morning, y'all. Yeah, I just have to gather my thoughts real quick because man, what a week it has been here. Watching everything that's happened with the NBA. Jesus, man. From the Lakers and the Dallas Mavericks all the way on down to the Miami Heat and the Golden State Warriors, we have had multiple people switch from team to team. What started out as the most innocent moment in sports history over the last couple of seasons, where teams have basically slowly geared up in order to get ready for the All-Star break and for trying to whittle themselves down and get them geared in position and get tuned up and ready for playoffs, has now become the reason why we say that we're taking a break today from the NBA and not, oh, we're solely focused on one of the more important games that's happening today, which is, and we'll get to in a little bit, the Super Bowl is today. For those of you that might have forgotten just a little bit, but this is the Hoop Show, so we'll be talking a lot of basketball first. I'm just excited the fact that that the NBA decided to, while the NFL was gearing up and getting ready for their big game today, the NBA decided to have a chokehold on the media. I'll kind of work a little bit backwards because, man, we gotta recap some of the things that have been going on. So we're just gonna go ahead and recap what we did last week. Who spelled mayhem MEY? We need to. That's why you pay producers. Mayhem. May. There's a month. Anyway, and before we get into all that, again, thank you for tuning into the TSA Hoop Show, sponsored by Drafters app, where you can get your first deposit matched up to $100 by using the code TSA Bets. Drafters app, where you can go bet on your favorite players, their over, their unders, or your favorite games to watch. You can bet and win some great cash and cash prizes. Cash prizes. Speaking of prizes, the Lakers, who for the moment had a coveted asset in Mark Williams, center for the Charlotte Hornets, who the Lakers, who had given up Dalton Connect and a first round pick to the Charlotte Hornets, a protected, unprotected 2030 and 2031 pick. Given up to the Charlotte Hornets for Mark Williams, a center a player who was badly needed, athletic center, to pair with Luka Doncic, who had been required not but a week before. that trade has now been rescinded. Mark Williams did not pass the physical, which of course is part of the general rule in trading. It's a good faith trading. The respective players that are involved in the trade have to pass a physical, you guys. So you can't just simply pass players around unless you intend to release or cut them for one reason or another. But they do have to pass. It's good, fair. It's it's like saying, oh, we're going to trade bikes, and your bike has a flat tire. And unless that flat tire is fixed, or unless you get a good tire on it and it's a rideable bike, I'm going to want my bike back. So that's basically what happened here. Um, Mark Williams sadly did not pass physical. There have been talks from the Charlotte Hornets fan base about the availability of Mark Williams, saying that there have been talks of some media sports writers and analysts that had said that in the previous years, someone even listed Mark Williams' availability over the past 3 to 5 seasons between ankles, leg injury, and a bad back. Of course, the bad back was the thing that came to light during the physical for the Lakers. And so this was I mean, this may come to a shock because for Lakers fans, because not a lot of people honestly watch Charlotte Hornets basketball, which again I've mentioned on prior um on prior Sundays that you got to watch Hornets basketball. It's absolutely ironic that it has come down to having actual knowledge of the player from a fan base perspective, but yeah, he was injured, and so that trade has been rescinded. So welcome back, Dalton Connect. I would love for a lot more games to say connecting from three or 4 point play, so you can get a connect four, whatever you want to do with the name. But welcome back, Dalton Connect. First round pick has come back. Now Lakers have to go into the buyout market essentially for uh available free agents that are eligible to be signed now. One of which was recently cut by, you want to talk about New Orleans, and you want to talk about available centers. He was on New Orleans, got sent over to the Oklahoma City Thunder before being cut. I'm talking about Daniel Tice, a center who has been serviceable at best, I want to say, across various very good teams, of course. I talked about New Orleans Pelicans. He was just briefly on enough to have his name in the papers for Oklahoma City Thunder as part of free agency period. He was part of that Celtics team. Both of those Celtics teams that went on to the finals. Daniel Tice was definitely a big part of that. Um, but now he's one of those players that's available in the free agent market. So um, we're going to get into the whole entire list of things that have gone on. But at the top, the most important ones, of course, the Jimmy Butler saga is now over. I'm sure a lot of you are thankful for that, for no longer having to hear his name in the media. The most recent thing, of course, after his recent game in San Francisco, he will now be wearing on the back of his jersey Butler the Third, pay homage to his late father. So R.I.P. Butler Sr. So Jimmy Butler will be doing that. He joined Steph Curry and Draymond Green for Andrew Wiggins in a multi-team trade, of course, that sent a bunch of players to a bunch of places, including Miami. And now Golden State is, who knows what their trajectory is going to be, because again, before they were winning, there was a point in the time during this NBA season where the Golden State Warriors were winning a bunch of games with Buddy Hield in the starting rotation, and then they traded for Dennis Schroeder, who ended up getting traded a couple of times in the trade deadline. Who is now on the Detroit Pistons, and the Detroit Pistons are not going to waive Dennis Schroeder, which actually may be a smart move to have a veteran guard who's got championship grit and a championship mentality going into as Detroit tries to make that final push for the playoffs. But the Golden State Warriors are they're trying to find themselves again, and I kind of feel sorry a little bit for Warriors fans because to to figure out how to move on to the next saga, to be able to say, "Oh, we got these young players. We're going to go ahead and build our homegrown talent." It's very rare that Steph Curry is one of those players that got drafted with the team, grew with the team, and is essentially, if you look at it, is going to retire with the team, hoping that that transition to the next star is going to be pretty decent. Doesn't look like it's going to be that way with Jimmy Butler, who is on his, let's see, Chicago, Minnesota, Philadelphia, Miami, Golden State, 15. Um, it's absolutely crazy to have that type of player on the team now, and to have to move on from what will be that Steph Curry, that big three era, with Klay Thompson, Dre, and Steph, and now your future is in the hands of Jimmy Butler, a guy who has shown that he looks out at the end of the day for the future for himself. And it's not to say that he's selfish or anything like that. I think that in an industry of where you put out your best work, you expect it to be compensated for as such. I think that Jimmy Butler is one of those players that epitomizes someone that recognizes his self-worth. So from that perspective, I think that Jimmy Butler is definitely a professional in that regard. But if you look at it from a fan perspective, consistency is key. You want to see one guy that you can grow with for a long time, and if he's your favorite player, that's cool. But if not, and if you're looking out from a team perspective, you're just like, oh no, that's not the type of guy that we are used to watching, we're used to having around. Great personality as far as being able to play against and see him play in games, but to have him on your team, starting to get into that locker room trouble type of player. I don't think that he is. I don't think that his personality is like that. I just think that because he is so personal, he's so about himself first, which is great. I mean, he gives his all to the team, but at the end of the day, there's only one spot in that grave. It's for yourself, and there's only one name on that headstone. And you are the legacy that you leave behind. I think that he definitely looks out for a lot of that. And to not be able to understand that from a fan perspective gives it a little bit of taint on the acquisition itself. I mean, leading up to this, you had suspension after suspension on the Miami Heat. And I can go on and on about the saga of Jimmy Butler, the multiple trips to the trip to the NBA Finals, the multiple trips to the playoffs, beating top tier talent in the Boston Celtics and Milwaukee Bucks. The resume is as long as the history of the NBA itself. But now what do you do on a guy that is now getting into the latter years of his respective career? You wonder if you're going to have him retire with the team, how much space he's going to take up with that new extended contract. So many questions after that trade. Hopefully, with the standings of where they're at right now, that what you're seeing is a team on the rise to make playoffs. I mean, Golden State Warriors basically sit at the 11th seed right now. Between them and the Phoenix Suns, who just can't seem to be winning, can't buy a bucket right now. It's a wonder if Golden State is actually going to make playoffs at all, or if they're just going to go ahead and turn it in and try to reestablish through the draft next year. Other teams that were involved in acquisitions. Portland wasn't too. Portland was stayed out of it. Washington, heavily involved in trade acquisitions. So let's get some acquisition from the Washington Wizards because they were really in it. Okay, so they acquired Marcus Smart from the Memphis Grizzlies, who had moved on from Marcus Smart, who hasn't been available much after he got acquired from Boston. After missing out on a couple of after Memphis missed out on a couple of opportunities to acquire a backup point guard for John Morant. Um, so that's one big thing that it may not be big in a sense of on the scale of Jimmy Butler or Luka Doncic, but Washington being involved uh, heavily in trades, acquiring Chris Middleton and sending off Kyle Kuzma, who's finally out of what most people perceive as purgatory, over to the Milwaukee Bucks. Bucks fans right now are on both sides of the fence saying Kuzma is just a younger version of Middleton that doesn't play defense. And the other side is saying, well, Chris Middleton couldn't play defense because his body's falling apart on him. His availability has been suspect. And every year, the Milwaukee Bucks have been dependent on the availability of Chris Middleton, despite all their acquisitions, despite the acquisition of Damian Lillard, despite the scoring of Giannis Antetokounmpo. All of those things have basically come down to we don't have enough bodies that have been young and available, and the personnel that we've been putting in by Doc Rivers has been suspect. So, hey, shout out to Washington for getting back something. They've got a lot of young talent on there. Don't forget Alex Sarr, the number 2 overall pick um, over there in Washington. They got to build around him, so that's going to be interesting to watch there. Um, so yeah, uh, very big as far as involvement for Washington is concerned. I just mentioned that the Memphis, what they've done. Um, Detroit Pistons played a little bit. Like I said, they acquired Dennis Schroeder in a bunch of those trades that involved Jimmy Butler. They also got Lindy Waters from the Golden State Warriors. So and they got draft considerations from the Warriors. So they'll be able to continue to build upon what they're doing now, which is great because Detroit right now again is still jockeying for position. They have the last locked playoff spot. They're at 26-26 in the East. Absolutely phenomenal job by their GM and their team doing that. Running down some more of these trades right now. One of my personal favorites, Brandon Ingram, now out of New Orleans, has gone on to Toronto, which is I don't know how to feel about Toronto right now as a team. I mean, they're third to last in the East right now. They are not making playoffs this year. I don't think Brandon Ingram. If they found a way to buy out Brandon Ingram's contract, that would put a warm spot in my heart, because I think that as a player that had worked as hard as he did, his trajectory in being involved as a possible starter, he's a starter, but to have the path that he did to go from great player on the Lakers to decent player in New Orleans and being injured and then being pushed aside for that organization to try to uplift the image of Zion Williamson, who wasn't available, who hasn't panned out as a draft pick. I think that whole organization, New Orleans, needs to go back to the drawing board and really look at themselves in the mirror and ask themselves, what is it that we're really doing? Because, yeah, it upsets me a little bit that he's gotten stuck there in Toronto. I don't think that's a destination that players go to revive their contract. I mean, some teams have had few players that have been able to out play out their play their best over in Toronto, showcase a little bit of the talent, and get new contracts elsewhere. So that's a thing that has happened. So maybe that'll happen for him there. But yeah, Brandon Ingram, new acquisition, Toronto Raptors, and Sacramento receiving Jake LaRava from the Memphis Grizzlies, who Memphis Grizzlies have sort of like this big log of big men between Jake LaRavia and Zach Edey, Triple J, and so on. So they're basically helping out their own rotation by moving Jake LaRavia over to Memphis, being able to create a little space, sign someone in that free agent market that we're talking about, that talent pool. Um, some other notable trades, of course, Phoenix got involved in a trade. Of course, we know that Phoenix was one of those teams where they said that they were going after Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler then came back and said he does not want to go to Phoenix. That trade that they were talking about had involved, at one point, Kevin Durant, had involved Devin Booker, had involved Bradley Beal at one point. All three players coming back to Phoenix, not being involved in any part of any trade deal. And so now you have this team that is on the decline. Um, the the organization is doing everything that they can to basically rehash that relationship between their star players and themselves, honoring Devin Booker the other night would become the highest scorer, the top scorer in Phoenix organization history, which was a nice way to show that, although it hasn't reflected in the standings because, again, they're the last team in the play-in, Golden State right behind them. So what's really going on in Phoenix right now, no one knows. Um, we have to talk about the De'Aaron Fox acquisition, who has since gone 0-2 since acquiring De'Aaron Fox. That's not a diss to De'Aaron Fox or anything like that, but it actually, Spurs actually came away with a very Sorry about that. Technical difficulties right now. Absolutely no idea what was going on right now. But anyway, talking about the San Antonio Spurs, who did a great job in the free agency as well. And there's a whole other list of a lot of acquired talent that has come about for the free agency, and we're hoping that, at least from a hoops perspective, that this all positively affects the each team that has acquired top tier talent. Of course, the cream of the crop, Luka Doncic, who's going to make his appearance on Monday versus Phoenix. Um, hoping that that acquisition comes with something great. Of course, Luka Doncic was probably expecting Mark Williams to be there, but that's going to be interesting that instead they really have no big man right now. It's going to be a bunch of fours surrounding them. It's going to be looking a lot like Dallas right now. So we'll see how that goes. And that's that. So, if you have more to say about the free agency acquisitions, just go ahead and drop a comment below. Of course, we're kind of blowing through this because, again, it's Super Bowl Sunday, so we cannot ignore that. We're going to make some predictions in a little bit. Right now, NBA standings are, and right now, NBA standings are as such. Of course, OKC is still sitting there at the top, now widening that lead, right? They're sitting there at 7.5 games ahead of the 2 seed, which is the Memphis Grizzlies, the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets, y'all. We talked a whole lot of mess about them this season, and they have hit. They're on a 6-game winning streak, y'all. And they seem to be kind of pulling the Lakers along because the Denver Nuggets are at 3, the Lakers are at 4, and Houston is at 5 right now. Houston has gone on a 6-game losing streak, y'all. And this team was beating the brakes, was going in and taking kids' lunch money. We were just talking about Houston 2 weeks ago, how great their defense was, and it has not been great as of late. And teams have been finding ways to beat the Houston Rockets. And it's interesting to kind of see why they're there. Um, just late game execution, late game runs by other teams. That same tenacity and that defense of holding on the leads by Houston has not been there. So it'll be interesting to see what they do at that 5 spot. Rounding out the last spot, um, like a like a phoenix rising from the ashes, the Minnesota Timberwolves sit there at 6th. They got on a 3-game winning streak. They've hit 30 wins as well. So shout out to Ant, willing his team back from the ether, despite not really acquiring much during the trade deadline. Getting some of their talent acquisition back from injury. Um, they're doing great. Right behind them, LA Clippers, who have been on again, off again. Um, Lost some close games against some subpar teams. Won some big games. Had big games from talent like James Harden. Of course, Kawhi Leonard on again, off again. Some of those losses come against teams like the Lakers. So it's interesting to see how this team is going to operate down the stretch. Right behind them, at the 8th seed, the second play-in position, the Dallas Mavericks. Of course, we know that big trade. Some of the fans thinking that they got the worst part of the trade by acquiring Anthony Davis and Max Christie, two players whom have both just completely exploded offensively since that trade. Okay, Max Christie has averaged 22 points since being acquired on Dallas. Lakers fans may be in shambles after this. Myself, I may be in shambles. I mean, I know it feels like Christmas came early with acquiring Luka Doncic, but as my dad says, we'll see. But as far as the Dallas Mavericks are concerned, um, They're making their push right now. They've won 2 games since the acquisition. They said at 28-25. They are the 8th seed. Of course, it's tough to be in the West and be at 500 because the Sacramento Kings sit at 26-26. The Phoenix Suns, who sit at 26-26. The Golden State Warriors, who sit at 26-26, are all 9, 9, 10, and 11. Okay, that's the 9th seed with Sacramento Kings, 10th seed with Phoenix Suns, and the Golden State Warriors sit at 26-26. Golden State Warriors won their game last night. Sacramento Kings won their game the other night. Phoenix lost their game the other night, so they flip flop. All interesting. Got a comment here that says Lakers are going to have a very good starting unit. I'm kind of worried about their bench, though. Yes, depth is going to be an absolute issue right now because, again, big man rotation was on the Christmas list. And then since then, we have found that the gift that Santa thought we were getting for all that they paid for it. I'm talking about our GM Rob Pelinka. That trade has since been rescinded. So we'll see what the buyout market looks like. So we got through 9, 10, 11. And of course, we mentioned San Antonio earlier, Portland Trailblazers, who stood pat. We were going to continue to try to win. Hold on, we got to get some appearance. Give us a second. Oh, good morning. Yeah, Portland Trailblazers, who are standing pat, are now. Let me say good morning. Of course, we always have a guest appearance from family on these things, y'all. Are sitting at the 12th seed, 14 Utah Jazz, and then 15, of course, the New Orleans Pelicans, who have seemed to be giving away the farm for the foreseeable future. And that's the West. Quickly going through the standings of the East, Cavs still sitting at the top. Boston is figuring out ways to win again. New York Knicks just recently lost, but they're sitting at the 3rd seed right now. So that seems to be the way that the season is going to end. Cleveland, Boston, New York, which could be fine. It probably won't mean much as far as playoffs are concerned. Pacers, who have gone on to beat some of the top talent. Of course, they just lost last night against the Lakers without with Dalton Connect. I'm sorry, Dalton Connect with Austin Reeves scoring 40 billion points. Yo, what up, JC? Yeah, let's go. But the Pacers are sitting at 4 right now. Bucks sitting at 5, and the Pistons, of course, sitting at 26-26 at the 6th seed. Right behind them, Miami Heat 25-25-7, Magic at 8, Atlanta, who gets out of the playoffs, the play-in standings, and back in again. They're sitting at the 9th seed. Chicago right back in it at the 10th seed. Philadelphia, who was in it for a little bit because they seem to have been winning. Now they're not. Probably since Tyrese Maxey got dissed for not being picked to the All-Star team again. Sitting at 11. Brooklyn sitting at 12, who it's important to actually note that we didn't talk about this in the free agency part of the show today. They have now they bought out that contract that they were sitting on in. Let me make sure I get this right. Because the Clippers, they intend to sign with the Clippers. So this is Ben Simmons. That's right. Ben Simmons bought out of the Nets and intends to sign with the Clippers. So that's important to note because right now the go get in the bed. Why? Get warm. The Clippers again sitting down there at the 7th spot in the West. Brooklyn sitting at 12th, so they're probably mailing it in for the season. Toronto 13, Charlotte 14, Washington, of course, shipping away the farm at 15. So those are the standings right now. Nothing too surprising except for the push of the Pacers, which has been surprising as of late. The winning of the Lakers, who won 5 straight as of late, and loss of the Houston Rockets, who lost 6 straight. So So definitely surprising so far. Uh, Um, and that's basically where we're at with with the standings. We'll get that updated for now. But again, we have to get in. We have to get out of here. We have three. Well, there are only 3 games for the NBA today. Make way for the NFL. All right, NBA gets to get in, get out. All games are going to be played at the same time at 11. So pick one. If you're playing fantasy, make sure that you have as many players from those teams as you can, because those are only 3 games being played today. Because tonight, the Philadelphia 76ers play the, trying to think of the closest team, Minnesota Timberwolves. I think that will be the equivalent right now. Kansas City Chiefs play the Philadelphia Eagles. For those of you that don't understand the NBA football reference, Super Bowl is going off tonight. I put some predictions up on X, as far as predictions of who's going to win. Being a Raiders fan, again, I guess I'm going to be rooting for the Eagles today, but I have money on the Chiefs, so I'm good either way. I'm actually just predicting for a great concert today by Kendrick Lamar. Um, I want to talk about real quick the best and the worst things that could come of this game. The best thing that could come off this game for the NFL, and as least as they're concerned, is a very close game on both halves. An amazing concert by Kendrick Lamar, clean end to end, nothing to do with any close ref calls because we've been hearing a lot about that. So um, I don't predict that that's going to happen. I guarantee there's going to be one offensive passing interference call that's going to be. That's my prediction. There's at least one offensive passing interference call that's going to be questioned throughout the entirety of next week. You guys are going to get a little bit of talk about the NFL. I hope that this is a game that the NFL can talk about all week because, again, you have the NBA All-Star game next weekend. And if the Super Bowl doesn't do the numbers or doesn't get the press or talked about that NBA is getting right now, that'll probably Goodell's worst nightmare. Those are my only couple predictions. I put the rest online. And again, if you're still watching right now, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Of course, some technical difficulties will cause us to have to switch platforms. And if you have noticed anything, just a couple of small notes. If you see the wall behind me, it is absolutely blank. That's right. No caps. No caps on this head either. Why? Because family is moving at the end of the month. So it's gonna be a couple of shorties. Again, All-Star game coming next weekend. We are not going to be streaming during that day. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be sending out a couple of videos for you guys to enjoy for that weekend, so that way you guys can get your predictions in, you guys can get your bets in, some all-star fun and stuff like that. Some other fun things to come, and shout out to JC, the sports affiliation, for that great intro today. You guys, are you tuned in today? Don't forget to tune in to us on YouTube. If you see this on YouTube later, don't forget to subscribe, give the channel a like, give this video a like, leave your comments below. We will address them later on. Hopefully you guys enjoy your Super Bowl Sunday. Make sure you stay safe. Don't forget that it is Black History Month. Don't forget that also during the month of February, it's a month of love. So make sure that you are giving your love to your closest loved ones, that you're not ignoring them too much when those touchdowns are being scored. And other than that, y'all have a good day. Peace, love, chicken grease. We out.